Hey CDA, and welcome back to Captain of Industry. Last time around we consolidated a lot of what we already had, making it work better, which is very important, don't get me wrong, but I'm really excited to really start progressing again in this episode. Now, honestly, I don't know what it is about this game, but I always have the feeling I should be doing 5 different things at the same time. I'm not really sure what is more important because, again, this is the first time I'm actually playing this. So again, let me know in the comments if I'm doing something horribly wrong. Now, speaking of which, do let me know in the comments, but I will be going on holiday next week. So I'm recording a couple of episodes in advance. So there's going to be a couple of episodes where you won't see me reacting to all those smart things you tell me to do, mostly because I already recorded it. However, I will still read all those comments and actually pick up on all the things I did wrong and all your tips and tricks after that. So please keep giving them. Now, let's see, what do we want to do first? So I currently have plenty of power, but I did actually unlock a new type of power plant, a diesel generator 2, which actually produces more energy for the same amount of fuel, just a tiny little bit, but it is more efficient. And on top of that, I only need one of these for every 6 diesel generators that I currently have. So I can actually replace all 6 of these with a single diesel generator 2. So that sounds like a good place as any to start. Look at that, it's such a cool building, and I really like the visuals of this game once you zoom in. I know I've said this about 10 times now, but if you look at the game like this, it looks so crappy, honestly. I don't know what it is, but I don't find this appealing at all. And then you zoom in and you're like, wow, this is actually a pretty good looking game. Anyway, you know what's better than 1 diesel generator number 2? 2 diesel generators number 2, and I know this is complete overkill compared to what I need. As you can see, we can now produce 14 megawatts of power, but you know, there's no such thing as having too much power, especially considering I will be ramping up, hopefully, in the near future, so might as well have a little bit of buffer to go. Now, as you might remember from last episode, I'm starting to get a little bit worried about the deforestation going on, especially considering we cleared out the entire forest in this side of the island. So what I'm going to do is actually set up a couple of farms to make little saplings that we can then hopefully plant. I have no idea how this is going to work, so let's try and figure it out. Okay, so let's do some math here. In order to make construction parts, I need 9 wood per 60 seconds. I have currently 3 of these, which is probably not enough, but it means I need 27 wood per minute in order to just satisfy all of this. Okay, so it looks like one of these trees actually turns into about 20 wood, so that would mean I need to produce how much? Okay, so by the looks of it, one of these 3 actually cuts down all the way to 20 wood, or something along those lines. It's a little hard to tell, honestly, but that would mean I need a little bit more than 1 tree per minute in order to satisfy my current wood demand, which honestly is not that much. Now, which also explains why my trucks are currently standing still. However, I do need to scale up my production quite a bit, so I figure I might as well first of all, for now, just overproduce a little bit, and then we can always look at exporting those saplings or doing something else with it, or turning them into biofuel for all that matter. I do have that recipe unlocked, I just don't have any saplings to do anything with it, so might as well start overproducing a little bit. So I am thinking about 3 of these farms making saplings, and honestly that is going to be producing something around 12 saplings per minute, so that is about 10 times as much as I currently need. But once again, I do need to scale up, and I just want to see how this actually, if we can actually start reforesting an area. We can always turn them off if we have too many saplings. Now, I do want to set up these farms a little smarter than what I initially did. Okay, so here's the plan. I actually have a pump this time around again, because we have groundwater here, and what I didn't realize before is that groundwater actually replenishes itself. I know, makes sense because that happens in real life as well, but I didn't realize that would also happen in this game. So actually it's kind of an infinite resource. However, there is a limit to how fast it regenerates. Basically, it regenerates partially every time it rains, so you don't want to be pumping out too much, but other than that, it's almost free water. Now, in order to make sure I don't actually pump everything dry, I have a couple of these rainwater collectors here as well. So this is producing a little bit more than half of what I need for these 3 farms. So we're going to see how that actually turns out in terms of balance. Now, I also have a little bit of automation going here because I have this belt where all the saplings will be on, and then we are going to be storing these saplings in this storehouse over here. So, will this work? I have no idea. I guess we're going to find out one way or another. So then in order to actually plant these trees, we're going to need a tree planter, you guessed it. So how many of these? I don't know. Let's start with one, I guess, because we're almost at the cap of the vehicles, although I can actually research a new vehicle cap as well. And let's have a couple of trucks to go along with that. Speaking of which, let's research vehicles management 3 so we can build another 20 vehicles if we need to. Then in order to actually plant the forest, I'm going to need a forestry control tower. That's an interesting thing. It's like a mining tower, but then for forests. I actually started to not place all the towers very close to where I actually want them to be, as in the actual areas where I want it to be, because you can designate an area anywhere on the map. So actually I think I'll use this tiny little spot over here where I can't really build anything else and make my forestry tower there. Okay, and then for now, let's designate this area as our new forest. Why? Because I know I'm not going to be building anything here because this is where my coal actually is. So it's kind of out of the way, and I will eventually start mining this coal, of course, but then I can just move my forest, I guess. Although, by the looks of it, the trees actually grow really slow. It's actually going to take 12 years in order for a tree to fully grow. Okay, that's a long time. So that raises the question, do I want to move my designated zone? Okay, so actually let's play it safe and let's put the forest right next to our farm. I'm not entirely sure if this is going to matter in the long run, but we'll find out soon enough. Look, there goes the little planter. It actually carries around a tiny little tree. That's so cute. Now I actually wanted to set a truck to be assigned to this tree planter, but apparently the tree planter only carries around its own trees. So in that case, that actually does mean that I want to have a storage place for all of these trees very close by, because otherwise this would mean this thing would have to drive up and down the entire island, which is of course not what we want. Oh, look at that. Is it trying to dig a hole with the tree? That's a little weird, but okay. Oh, it actually carries around 8 saplings at the same time, so that's actually pretty efficient. And look at that, our first tree has been planted. In the meanwhile, I'm fighting off fleets of ships and exploring the entire map, and we're kind of running out of places I can actually explore because I think I need to upgrade my ship in order to be able to reach these places. There's actually only one thing that I can still explore, and this is the fleet over here. So let's go and take out the last one. Now, of course, there is a couple of things I can still do in the map. For example, get another oil rig, or I think we had sulfur here somewhere. This is a coal mine. Oh, yeah. A sulfur mine here as well, which is nice to have in case we run out of anything, because this does effectively mean, if I understand correctly, that we'll have pretty much infinite sulfur, infinite coal, things like that. How is our oil rig doing actually? So yeah, there is still about 1 million oils in this thing over here. It's going to take me 1500 years in order to empty that. So I think we're safe for now. As a side note, something else I started doing is actually digging a mine in a V shape, because I felt like whenever I was digging down too far below, I was actually having my walls collapse, which I know is a thing because you can build these retaining walls in order to avoid that, which wouldn't really be a problem if it wasn't for the fact that I had a feeling I might be wasting some of that coal on the edges. Now again, let me know in the comments if that's actually the case. But either way, that means I make sure that I am not losing out on a lot of precious resources by at least basically digging down in a V shape. And whenever my V shape is done, we can take off another layer. Okay, I am completely out of fuel, and why is that? Well, that is because I'm not getting enough coal in, and that is because my V shape is actually causing my excavators to sometimes dig into stuff that is not actual coal, and thereby slowing down my coal production. It's a very annoying thing to have to balance, because obviously I can't actually reach the coal if I don't at some point dig through all of the other stuff. So as long as we don't completely spiral out of control, I think we'll be safe just by ignoring it for a moment. Ironically, what I can actually do if I'm in a pinch, I can trade some coal directly for diesel. So as long as we're producing one of these two, we can actually get the other one as well. Which means I should probably also uncouple this for now, because, well, apparently I was a little bit too enthusiastic putting two of these diesel generators up and running without actually increasing my fuel production. But right now we don't actually need either the power or the fuel, all the red signals here notwithstanding. So hopefully just correcting this is actually going to consume exactly the same amount as my diesel generators did before. So hopefully we can spiral back up before we completely wipe out. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set my second team of excavators that are just landscaping to mine this zone over here. That means that they can actually do the lane part, which is digging out all the soil and stuff like that, and then hopefully the others can just continue and actually dig out the resources I actually want. Oh, and then I just realized that the entire foundation that I wanted to build over here is actually done now. So what I can do is be a little bit more efficient about it this time around and then start creating some roads with the concrete we now have left. Hopefully that will reduce the maintenance on my vehicles by quite a bit, because honestly they're driving around a lot. So that should be nice in order to reduce that. And we also kind of have these corridors now. So it's actually a lot easier to predict where my vehicles are going to go. Other than the fact that you can actually easily tell that. So yeah, they're just not driving around as randomly as they were before, so this is a time to start making some real roads. Okay, I'm cutting it a little bit close, but it looks like we're once again producing some diesel. We still have some coal. I actually reassigned my excavators over here to dig out another layer of the stuff where I actually know is going to be coal. And hopefully that should fix all of our coal problems for now. Meanwhile, our little forestation project over here is going pretty well, actually. We are sapling away. We have way more saplings than we're ever going to be able to use, so 3 of these was definitely overkill, which leads me to wonder if I should turn one of these off. I mean, they do require maintenance, but for now I'll just keep them running until we actually get into maintenance issues. Now, let me think, what is next on the list? Alright, we are going to take a look at mechanical parts, because what I didn't realize is that I actually unlocked a new recipe, so thank you for mentioning this in the comments. Rather than using 30 iron to make 24 mechanical parts, I can actually use 12 steel in order to make those same 24 mechanical parts. Now, is this more efficient? I think the short answer is yes. Okay, so I did a little bit of the math on this, and it turns out that 12 steel is more or less equivalent to 24 iron. So it's actually a pretty massive reduction, although of course in order to make steel we do need a couple of other things. For example, we need the oxygen, but other than that it's actually not that bad. Let's see, in terms of coal, we actually spent 9 coal on making 12 steel, and how much are we using here? It's actually the same amount. So again, we're getting both a reduction on the iron ore as well as on the coal that we use, all for exchanging that against a little bit of free oxygen, because, well, other than putting down this building, there's nothing else we need to do to make this work. Now that also means I'm going to have to relocate these a little bit, because right now they're connected to the iron production, and well, we can actually save on the iron and replace that with the steel that we're now producing. So yeah, let's see. Okay, there we go. I hooked it up to the steel production. Now, if this would be producing at full capacity, that would actually be using all of our steel, which is not what we want. So I am just going to turn off one of these assemblies for now, and then have the other one with the iron just supporting it. And honestly, all in all, as you can see, we have way more mechanical parts than we need for the moment anyway. So far so good, I believe. Now, I do get messages now that my oil is now running low, which apparently is a new problem, so I'm going to have to find another way to get diesel or oil. Speaking of oil, we do of course have our oil rigs, and I'm actually wondering what happens if I upgrade it to level 4. Apparently we're just going to skip level 3, because right now it is level 2, as far as I can tell. So we just upgraded straight to level 4. I'm not entirely sure what happens if we do that. Does it increase the reserve or just the speed at which it is producing? I don't know. Let's find out. So I've been observing our little harvester over here, or planter I should say, and for some reason it looks like it's actually driving up and down to the forestry control tower to get its saplings rather than the actual storage unit of these. So this is one of the few things in this game I've found so far that's actually not really realistic. Everything else is actually harvested at the source, and this is not. So I'm not entirely sure what the reason for that is. It does mean that I should probably have built this a little closer to the actual forest. But anyway, I'll just leave it where it is for now. It's not a huge deal. This is not something we heavily rely on. How are we doing on our forest over here? It is still going, so all in all, we should be fine. But still, it's a weird little thing to happen. I do think I'm actually going to build another planter though, because I just realized we can turn those trees into coal, and that should at least solve our coal problems. Now, the next thing on my list is actually to start making vehicle parts too, because I kind of want to start upgrading my entire fleet of, well, vehicles. However, I have the vehicle parts, I have the steel, but apparently I need glass as well, and I actually have no idea how to make that. So it took me a little bit of clicking around, looking very confused at the technology tree, because apparently I can't actually make glass yet. It's unlocked after you unlock the glass maker, but that's actually quite far. Well, not super far, but it is a little bit further down the technology tree to where I'm currently at. So apparently you unlock the vehicle parts too, but without a way to actually make glass. However, I can go to, for example, this town over here and order myself some glass, and by using that still make those vehicle parts, but I'm not going to be mass producing it for sure, because, well, I am going to need those construction parts for other stuff as well. Apparently I can't trade yet with this settlement, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to increase my reputation so I can do that. Something worth noting actually is that initially I was just upgrading all my buildings whenever I could, but I just realized, for example, that the assembly making the vehicle parts doesn't need to be non-stop producing. As you can see, I have plenty of vehicle parts to work with, and assembly 1 actually doesn't require any maintenance, while the assembly 3 that I upgraded to actually needs 4 per 60 seconds, so that's quite a lot compared to what I've been using before. So I might actually just go and downgrade some of my buildings, because, well, if I am not using them at that level, I might as well be a little bit more conservative with what I'm spending my maintenance on. Okay, well, that is one question answered. I can actually increase my oil rig to level 6 again. I'm not sure why we keep skipping levels, but anyway, what I can actually do is increase the production by doing that. So I can actually scale this all the way up to 108 per minute now. And if I compare that to what these things are currently producing, we are producing 18 over here, so it's roughly the same as my oil pumps are generating over here. Meanwhile, let's deliver the cargo to our settlement so we can start actually trading for some of the more interesting stuff. Speaking of which, I can apparently order chickens. No idea what I can do with those chickens, probably something I still need to unlock, but that is hopefully something I can use my animal feed on. Because, you know, I have 93 of that and I have nothing to do with it for the moment. In preparation for building new vehicles, let's actually build the new vehicle depot somewhere where I'm 100% sure the vehicles can actually come out. Because before, this pipeline was kind of in the way. And, well, I just want to make sure our nice little awesome excavators, trucks and everything else we're going to be upgrading can actually get out of the depot. Okay, so let's see. We need 3 glass in order to make 6 vehicle parts, and I just looked at the price of all the different vehicles, and somewhere between 40 and 80 vehicle parts. So basically we need half of that in terms of the glass amount. So if I would order 40 glass, I can make 2 trucks, for example. So, well, let's go and buy ourselves some glass, I guess. Okay, so I splurged a little. I have 320 glass now, but yeah, we are going to be making some vehicle parts too, and I do want to make sure I get at least a couple of more of these excavators and things like that to make sure we optimize our production. Now I keep getting warnings that we don't have enough fuel, but I definitely do have plenty of fuel, so I'm not entirely sure what the problem is. I actually already assigned another truck to this, but that doesn't seem to be helping that issue. So I'm not entirely sure which truck it is, because every time I click on this, it doesn't actually tell me. It might just be one of those trucks stuck over here, because I'm doing some excavating, but not very successfully, as you can see. Okay, so let's see. We should see our excavator popping out anytime now. Ooh, there we go. Look at that. It is definitely a size bigger than the ones we already have. And that's a good thing, because that sets me up quite nicely in order for some optimization in the next couple of episodes and some expansion, because even though it feels like we're just basically barely making progress, and I have a feeling that disaster is about to strike just about every moment I build anything new, but for now we seem to be doing okay, and that is all we need. So, next time around, let's start expanding some more. For now, if you're still here, you're awesome, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.